it's Kim. Thanks for stopping by today's video. This one is gonna be a quick one. And I wanted to sit down to kind of show you or walk you through how I'm actually using a component of my planning system. Specifically, the daily pages. I got this idea back when I was doing my February plan with me. If you haven't seen that one, I'll have it linked down below or up in the cards. But I got the idea because I thought to myself, aside from the fact that that video was ridiculously, unnecessarily long, you've been warned, but aside from the fact that that video was very long, I did go through how I'm setting up the monthly, but I realized that a lot of times I like to watch planning videos that also show how the system is being used or how the planner is being used, how it functions on a day-to-day basis. Because while getting a glimpse at how everything is nice and pretty and set up and organized, I think it's really important to see how it's being used. That is the key component in letting me know how it's going to work for me or giving me ideas on how to make something similar work for me. So today, on this gloomy, dreary, rainy day, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I'm doing that in my current planner. To recap a little bit, this is a standard size traveler's notebook, and I have inserts in here that I use on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis. My journal is also kept in here as well. So I'm gonna turn the camera around, let you see all of what's going on, and kind of walk you through all the dailies in my book for January so you can get a glimpse of how I'm using them and how it helps organize and plan out my life. So here's my daily planner. To recap, it's a standard size traveler's notebook. The cover is a Nomad from Vanderspec, vdsshop.com. In the JL black leather. On the inside is JL or Janet Leather Velvet Sand. So getting right into it, and I am going to do an update on this because my system changed. My system changed very slightly. I'm using a different book in here at the moment from my original setup video, but you can still go back to check out those videos and see all the components of my system and how I use it on a daily basis. I will say that I am using a cut down Hobonichi Cousin that I cut down to standard size, and I will be doing a full video explaining the changes that created, how I'm using it, how I'm liking it, if I'm going to stick to it, all that good stuff. I'll be doing that video very soon, so please be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss that video. But getting into my daily pages. Oh, well, this is today. That's not today. Actually, this is today. But anyway, so I'm going to start, and I'm going to show you how I use the daily pages for January. In my planning system, I have my monthlies, weeklies, and dailies all separate. So on my dailies, I just set them up as each day progresses. Of course, they're called dailies, but I do use those for day-specific tasks and things that come up as the day progresses. I will also use those pages, if we get to one, I'll also use those pages for a bit of journaling, some like micro journaling, so to speak. So little periods of journaling throughout the day. I don't put that type of information into my regular journal. Those are kind of like thoughts, feelings, just dumping out morning pages type of stuff. Whereas the micro journaling are just things that might come up. They might be ideas, they might be feelings, whatever I feel like writing at the moment. So here's where you can see where January the 1st started. And I do separate all of my dailies by month. Each month has its own design, I should say. So here we have the marker underneath, the Tombow 772, and then I use my stamps to stamp out the day of the week. And I'll list out in a bullet journal fashion. I'll use a dot as an indicator of a task, and then once I complete that task, I'll use a check mark. If that task is getting migrated, I'll use an arrow. If that task was only partially completed, I'll use just a slash. So do that for the days. And I'll also include other ideas or things that I want to reference at a later date. And this is where my index will come into play. Here's where I would index something that I added on my daily pages in my index section, which is currently not filled in at the moment because I just switched to this book. I do have to update it, but I would note what I have on this page, for instance, and put the date next to it. So I'd say my cleaning schedule is on January 2nd. So I know where to turn in my daily pages to find that information. So at the end of every week, Monday to Sunday, I will do a weekly review, also mixed into my daily pages, and then I just go right into the next week. So these are further examples of how I use the space. Even though I like to make sure I have enough space in my notebook to allow one full standard size page per day, there are often times where I'll use a lot more than one day on a page. And for instance, between these two pages, I've got 5 days listed out here. And that's primarily because there was little to no journaling mixed in throughout these tasks. I will also add a little bit of decor to the pages, normally after the layouts are complete. I don't really do this beforehand. I'll just try to fill in any empty space. So again, we went Monday through Sunday, and then I have my week review. And this is a good example of the way I might separate out tasks. So the main task is to clean my living room and dining room, and then under that I have subtasks to vacuum, dust, do the coffee table, so on and so forth. So those get their own indicators, while the main one is outside of my division line. I don't even know what I would call that, but it's outside of that line. And then these are the steps that I want to make sure get tackled underneath that category. As you can see clearly, I did not clean the living room and dining room on the 8th of January, but you get it. So that's how I'll sometimes break up bigger tasks within my day. And speaking of this division line, I should think of a good name for it, but speaking of this dividing line, I will put that in once the day is complete. So of course, on this page, if I'm starting Wednesday, at the beginning of Wednesday, I don't know how long the tasks are going to take. I don't know how long it's going to go. I don't plot out and say I'm going to do 3 days on this page. I just go until Wednesday's over, and then it's time to move on to Thursday. When Thursday approaches, or when Thursday gets here, same for all of my tasks for Thursday. Once those are done, I'll add on Friday. So I just go kind of in a daily log type of fashion. I don't necessarily pre-plan where the days are going to be. Though in some instances, for instance, in December of 2021, because I had a lot of pages left at the end of that 2021 notebook, I did decide to plot out 1 day per page for the month. But that is not the norm for me. And mixed throughout my daily pages, I'll also put in other things. Like here I have a pen test page for some Pentel sign pens, some zebra click art pens that I have a little sticky note about prepaid phone plans, just anything that I need to access or have access to throughout my days. And actually, for instance, this little sticky note was a carryover from December, because we knew that we wanted to get my son a prepaid phone plan, so I had to do a little bit of research on pricing and whatever company to use, and that's what I stuck this on. And then I migrated it over until the time that we needed it. We decided which one to do. So this is a good example of a day where I put on 1 page, and clearly I needed the entire page for this day. I had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to put out on paper, not a ton of tasks, but it was a busy day for me, which is why I kind of stuck a timetable over on the side. And I use timetables in varying fashions. This is one that I was just trying out to put on the right side of the page so that it wouldn't interfere with how I normally bullet my tasks throughout the day. And this actually worked. This is probably the best version of a daily timetable I've come up with so far. But this is what I like to use when I want to plot out where I'm going to place different things throughout my day, just so I know where I can fit certain tasks. So if I have let's say I have a work block from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I do know that maybe I can get a few things done before 9 a.m., maybe a few things done after lunch before I move on to work again. So that's why I might stick some other tasks in. And then as we go on further for the week, the remaining work days are all on this 2-page spread. So none of those days required its own full page. And this is an example of where I did start Thursday. So like I said, I just go until the day is done and then I'll start the next day. I knew that Thursday would probably require more space than this right here. So I decided to just carry over Thursday onto here and just keep going. So it's not a requirement for me to have a day stop on one page. It's quite alright for it to carry over onto another page. I haven't been in a situation yet where a day goes from one page and then I actually have to turn it to go to the next page to get to it. I haven't gotten there yet. I probably wouldn't. Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably wouldn't want to do that, but I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. I also don't like to waste paper. Another thing I noticed that might be interesting. So in this configuration using the cut down Hobonichi Cousin, I do not use this space down here with the quotes necessarily. But what I've noticed, so the grid spacing on a Hobonichi is 3.7 millimeters. In my other daily page or daily book, I actually have it right here. The grid spacing is 4 millimeters. This is a cut down Stylogy. And interestingly enough, the same number of boxes from the top of the Stylogy page until the bottom of the Stylogy page is equal to the number of boxes from the top of the Hobonichi Cousin page to right above the quotes that's down at the bottom. So I'm able to fit the same amount of information, even though you would think that this might be wasted space. It really isn't. And the only way I know that is because I switched over to this book January 20th, 21st. Actually, I switched over to this book, I think January 17th, and then I was using both. And then, anyway, so I did transfer information from these pages from January 1st until the 17th or so into these pages. And I was surprised to realize that I was able to fit the same amount of information from top to bottom on these pages, from top to bottom here, excluding this quotation area, if that's something you were interested in. But again, I'll have a full video outlining all of the similarities and the differences that I've noticed over here. So here you can see I just added a little bit of deco. I have some notes that I didn't need to refer back to, so that's not something I would ever index. And then we move on to this day. And if you notice, I didn't put my dividing line in there, so that is something I would technically go back and do just so that it doesn't bother me. And that's also something I'll do when I am closing out this page. So once I know that all the tasks are checked or migrated or whatever, then I'll add my dividing line, and that is an indicator to me that this page is done. I don't need to go back and find any tasks that weren't completed or tasks that I, didn't migrate or something like that. Where were we? Yeah, so that's that. And then the week review. And then we move into the new week. And here is an example. This is the same page that's here actually. But here's an example of information that I do want to refer back to. So these are things that I would index back in the earlier part of the book. So I would index this recipe that I have for hair and body oil. I would index this information that I wrote down for a beauty week, so to speak. And then the same thing, I didn't do my dividing lines yet on these pages, but that's something I'll go back and do. And I just noticed I didn't even check off all of the dots on this page, so I'll have to do that as well. And then we have the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on this one page, the week review. And then we go into the following week. So since that day earlier in the month, I think it was like the 10th, I didn't have another day for the month of January where I required using a full page. So that is another way, even though I make sure my notebooks have enough pages to account for one page per day, that's another way I'm able to include notes and other things that aren't specifically dailies into the book, because I'm kind of saving on space by putting more than one day on a page. Oh, and this is another thing I did. So I knew that I wanted the entire weekend to end on this page when I started Friday here. And that the reason why is because for some reason I thought I was going to use these blank pages before we get to February. excuse me, I thought I was going to use these blank pages before we get to February. So I wanted all of the weekend to end here so that I could do the week review there and then move on to Monday the 31st here. But for whatever reason, I haven't yet used these pages. I'll get to that in a minute. But on here, instead of putting my little journaling or micro journaling in with the day, which would have extended the length of Friday, I just use the space to the right of my task area to write down my journaling. And I do actually like that approach. It's something I would do in the future as well. And then here I just wrote snow day to pertain to Saturday, and I had an idea. Oh, I wanted to put like a little me time bath icon there, a little sticker that I have. So I'll probably put that there. And I don't normally go back to the pages once I pass them. Like, we're in early February right now. So once this whole page is closed out, I'm not going back to it necessarily to decorate. But because I switched over from the other book, I remember having that idea ahead of time, and I just didn't do it on that day. So then Monday the 31st is here. So this, like I said, closes out the month of January. So I would not go on to February 1st right here because the months look different. So the months are using different stickers. For February, I'm using the stickers that came in the Sterling Ink kit. So I didn't want them to be cluttered together. I just want to keep January separate from February. And that's also another reason why I'm trying something new, which is I'm using these little tabs. I'm not even sure if you can see them, but they're these little tabs that I use my label maker. And that one says January, that one says Feb. And I printed them all out on these sticky tabs from Cloth and Paper, and I have one for each month. So that's where I will mark when each month begins, so that I know if I need to reference something for whatever reason, I want to see what day I changed the filter in the vacuum cleaner. I don't know if I don't have it marked someplace else, and if I know it was back in January, I might sort through the January dailies. That was actually a bad example. That's probably something I would mark someplace else and I would know the date. I wouldn't have to sift through. But just in case I need to go back to the specific dailies for that month, I did decide to use a little sticky to indicate when that month starts. So January starts there, February starts over here. And like I said, at the end of the 31st, I did have an idea. I could do like a monthly wrap up, which I don't typically do. I thought to do stuff about like a monthly goal wrap up. I don't do that here though. It's in my companion planner and I already have inserts for that purpose. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with these pages. I also thought of doing like a January currently page, like currently loving, currently watching. That's a thought. I do have some cute stamps from Everyday Explorers Co. that I could use for that purpose. So maybe I'll figure that out and come back to it. And a lot of times I will tab these pages just with a removable page flag or sticky note so that I know where else in my book I have blank pages. So if I'm somewhere in March, and I know that I need a blank page just to maybe scratch some notes out, I'll have this flag so I can just come right back to this, you know, and scribble it out on here instead of using a new page further into the book, just to make sure that I don't have any wasted pages inside the book. And if you hadn't guessed already, I don't go by these dates that are up top on the pre-printed Hobonichi pages. I don't care about those. So I went over my February setup in my last video. If you haven't seen that, again, you can check that one out. I have it linked for you. So that's a basic overview of how I'm using my daily pages, how they work for me, how they function for me. Yeah, I just wanted to give an overview to show you how all of that flows together. Because for me, in the way that I plan, it's almost impossible for me to only use a weekly. I feel like I need a lot more day-to-day task information on my planner or in my planner. So that's why I do feel that the daily is extremely important for me. Otherwise, what happens is I'll have a weekly, and in that weekly, I will have probably like 70 million tasks, like a very long list of tasks that is way too overwhelming for me, way too daunting. If I have like 22 tasks to do for the week, and then I only get 10 of them done, then I need to transfer 12 to the next week, but I have another 22 to add to that. you get where I'm going. It just becomes a mess. So I need my daily pages to break out what I'm doing on the specific days. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope that the information I showed was helpful to someone, anyone. I hope that it's helpful to someone out there. If you have any questions about things I've shown, or if I forget to link something down in the description, feel free to leave me a comment down below, or check me out on Instagram as well. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.